Holy shit. Denis Villeneuve's Dune is the stuff dreams are made of. It is inconceivable to me that a director can make this good of a movie during a time of a world-class pandemic on a project this big in size and scope, but somehow, he manages to do it. This is without a doubt the best film of 2021, and unless something truly exceptional comes out within the next 2 months, I don't see that changing. We have a lot to get to today, so first I'll talk about the mise-en-scene and editing, and then talk about writing in the spoiler section. Starting with the filmmaking aspects of this movie, yeah, Denis is still an amazing director. I was a little worried because Roger Deakins wasn't working on this one that the cinematography wouldn't be up to the same standard. I want her reaches the same heights as Blade Runner 2049. Greg Pfizer, the new cinematographer, does an amazing job at bringing Denis' vision to life. This movie is absolutely stunning, which makes no sense because it is in a desert, and they didn't Mad Max it. How do you make a boring, normally color-graded desert look this cool? I'll tell you how. Good framing and the composition. The wide and establishing shots are so sprawling and up to scale and scope. There's a lot of use of depth of field and focus. Like in this one scene, the camera is in deep focus to capture Paul's reaction, and then rather than cutting, they simply transfer it to a shallow focus to see the murder bot that's about to kill him that he's looking at. It's so seamless. I think the biggest contributor to this film looking gorgeous, though, is the color. The bright, harsh beige and orange of the desert is juxtaposed wonderfully with the harsh grays and shadows of night, and these little bursts of blue and the lasers of the eyes of the Fremen prevent this from being a boringly colored experience. The size and scope do wonders for it, and the blocking and set design make it so that this kind of big, extensive cinematic style is the only one that would work in this story. The action is pretty good, if a little inconsistent. There was this one scene with a lot of quick cutting. It was the part where Josh Brolin's army fought Dave Bautista's, and it felt like a bit of a clusterfudge. But then there are other scenes, like Paul's vision and the trial at the end. They're edited so well that the action just flows insanely smoothly. The score is pretty good. It's nice and sprawling and fits the movie very well. I just think it was a little samey. Like, it didn't know when to go quiet and subtle when it needed to. This is a similar problem I had with Nightmare on Elm Street, where they play the same haunting synth music at all times, and it drains the tension from scenes that need a little bit. But not by much. It's still a great score, just not one I would listen to on my own, like the Blade Runner and Dark Knight soundtracks. Definitely Zimmer's weakest score, if skill, a great one. And obviously, I can't talk about the mise-en-scene without talking about the insane cast of A-list actors they got to play the characters in this. Not a bad performance in the bunch. They all create such a vivid range of human emotion and fit their characters extremely well. For me, the two best performers were Victor Skarsgård and Oscar Isaac. No offense to fat people, but I've never been intimidated by an overweight person in my life in a movie, and yet Skarsgård manages to make this fattest, most disabled man in the universe the scariest villain I've seen all year. Holy fuck. And Oscar Isaac, wow! I had the pleasure of watching him perform in Oedipus as Oedipus live on Zoom during quarantine, and that convinced me that he could do tragic characters really well, and he pulls it off masterfully as Leto Atreides in this movie. I'm sure it's a nice change of pace for him after being forced to play the ha-ha funny, likable guy in the Star Wars sequels. Now to move on to the writing stuff, and I won't spoil a whole lot, but if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, here's your warning, I guess. The characters are mostly good, with subtle but memorable personalities. I would say Paul Atreides is a bit of a blank slate, but he's more interesting than other Chosen One characters like Harry Potter and arguably Anakin Skywalker, though there'll be some debate over that by prequel fanboys, and you would argue in the comments, I don't give a fuck. I am a bit worried they're gonna pull an Avatar thing and make it so that he changes his race in the end, which would be the dumbest shit imaginable, but from what they're hinting at, I think he's fighting for them, not as one of them, and also fighting for his father against the Emperor. I hope they go in that direction, as it would be a much more complex and engrossing narrative, as well as make his motivation stronger. The pacing is faster than other Villeneuve works, and certainly faster than Blade Runner 2049, which is why I disagree with the opinion most critics have that this movie is for the fans and not for general audiences. Like, this is going to be much easier to sell the 2049 guys. Like, come on. It's already doing better. Come on. The dialogue follows an older, more Shakespearean style, but at least understandable. George Lucas!
I'm haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me.
And I do think that, for the most part, the motivation of the characters drives the narrative, which means the sprawling, epic, intriguing world doesn't overshadow them. I'm not entirely sure where the story goes from here. I guess I could read the book, but no one has time for that. So I'm happy to wait for part 2. I can't wait. But overall, this movie is amazing. The mise-en-scene is incredible, the narrative is intriguing and suspenseful, the visual effects were also amazing. I can't believe I didn't mention that. And it's a far easier story to get into than Blade Runner 2049 is. I totally wasn't going to see a rifle before this, but between this and Blade Runner, now I just might. 9 out of 10, go out and watch it now.